I just wanted to
So
point
you're
that.
saying that you would be able to run a better polygamy cult.
Yes, I would be able to run a better polygamy cult. Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, the podcast that always eats its Wheaties. My name is Nick, and I'll be your host today. Here with me, a man that invented the light bulb decades after someone else had already invented the light bulb. It's Joe. Joe, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right. I mean, you can always, refine something. So it's like 3M, right? We didn't make it, but we made it better. That's the slogan I try to go out in life. You know, I didn't invent whatever the things were, but I sure as heck make it better. And so what you do is you take one light bulb and you just duct tape another one to it. Yeah, it may not fit perfectly in that socket, but that's why you have tinfoil. I mean, yeah, maybe not fire code related, but whatever. You sure get a lot more light though,
A lot light, a lot faster. Uh, yeah,
and a lot
so
warmer.
a lot
I mean,
warmer, especially if it starts a fire. That's it's only a bad thing if you look at it like a bad thing. It's good to stay positive. But anyway, good. So it is July 29th as we record this. So go up on July 30th, God willing. Um, but uh, I've been having a pretty good week, Joe. Um, in some ways, more than others. It started out kind of bad though. Last Sunday, I was going for a long run and I dropped my phone, as I have dropped it many times while running. And it was a 2 year old phone, more than two, almost 3 years old. And I dropped it, but this time it was a little bit different because I don't know what, I don't know. I just could tell it was different. I picked it up, the screen was cracked. And I was like, well, this sucks. The screen itself was also making a very strange light, a bright light from where the crack was emanating from. And so I was like, But I was like, I think I can probably make it for a good long time with this cracked screen. People do it all the time. But it became apparent very quickly that the phone was busted. It was working well enough to actually use after I turned it off and turned it back on, but it was like scanning and doing all kinds of weird stuff. Long story short, I kind of figured out this phone's not long for this world. So I went to the store straight away and I got myself an iPhone. iPhone Pro Max 13. So I have joined the cult. Um, and anyway, it feels good, I guess. Feels okay.
I mean, I guess if you want to fucking, join the indoctrinated in there, that's fine. But I think do you still have a Apple laptop? Because I know you did back in the
I
day.
do still
So
have an Apple laptop. It is daggum almost 9 years old now. I think I think I got it in 2013. It still runs. It doesn't run fast, but it still works. I don't know. I've been wanting an iPhone for a couple of years now. I wanted to get one back whenever I got this old Samsung S10. Samsung was good. It was a good phone. And I don't know if the new phone is better because it's better just because it's new, because like a newer technology, blah blah, or if it's because it's an iPhone. I don't know, but
oh no, dude, the S10 to what you got now, it's they finally did 120 hertz refresh rate screens
yeah,
on the new current iPhones, which Android's had for a few years now. Yeah, you're totally getting just overall new feature sets. Doesn't matter what you had. Going from I think you'd be happier. But my wife
yeah, it's
specifically
true.
went with an iPhone. She had an old iPhone 7, or something like that, and she wanted to get out of that world. So, yeah, we got ourselves just recently both got ourselves new Samsungs actually. Um, and yeah, they're both pretty nice. I got rid of my Note 9. It was still pretty, it was only like 3 years old.
Yeah.
But I liked it, but I wanted, essentially this had a couple more camera features that I wanted on it, and as a whole, it's just like it's a little smaller. We just went with the base model. We didn't go with the Plus or the Ultra, though. That anime nerd in me went, oh, if my wife and I gets the Plus, one gets the Ultra, we can do the Boku no Hero thing and just go Plus Ultra and like completely nerd out, kind of like
It's a good reason to spend.
Dragon Ball Fusion or something.
It's like a really good
Yeah,
reason to
it
spend
was
like for $300 more or however much more it was
right.
going to
It
cost.
was like it's a crazy amount more. It was so stupid.
I mean,
Um,
I did look at the Samsung. I think it's what S21 or whatever they're on now, and it's very long and tall. So I guess it'd be good for like watching 16:9 shows and stuff. I didn't really play with that too much, but I want to read more manga, and that was kind of the thing about my old phone is it was a little bit longer, so I was losing more screen to it. And the iPhone's not perfect, but it does give me a little bit bigger screen, a little bit easier to read manga. So that was cool. The the facial recognition stuff works really really well. I don't know what the new Samsungs are like, but on the iPhone, like I can just like hold it like just like do like that, and it will catch my face and open for me. Like and the old phone, the S10, it worked pretty well early on, but never perfectly. So I guess they've just improved that technology, but I'm enjoying it.
I never used the facial recognition. I just always used thumbprint because I end up have like, the government already has my fingerprints, so that's okay.
Yeah,
And so I don't care if a couple corporations have that. That and it's just like if you really want to go through the hassle of like cellophaning my fingerprint off my drinking glass or something like that, go for it. I mean,
yeah,
there's nothing important enough to have on there. But so I've never bothered with the facial recognition. But the current Samsungs are just fine. I really like the size of the Note. It was just the right size for me.
mhm,
Unfortunately, the Plus was just a hair bigger, and I didn't want to go any bigger. Anything, I'd rather go just a tad bit smaller. And then the Ultra is just like, no, man. If I'm gonna go the Ultra, I might as well just get myself a small tablet, and just work
yeah,
with that. With have a data plan because that's what I did in Japan. I had myself a full blown tablet with that had data, and that way I can just do. I was able to use Line or any other internet calling service,
yeah.
and I didn't actually have to have a dedicated phone number.
A tablet would be good. I have debated many times about getting a smaller, more squarish tablet because that would be perfect for reading manga on. But it's like I don't want to spend the extra money, and I just want it on the go, blah blah. But having it by the bed and just being able to read right before going to bed, that's like the sweet spot. But yeah, I mean, I will say there are some things. This phone is freaking heavy. It is. I could kill somebody with this phone. It is very heavy. It's a lot heavier than the old one, and it's bigger, so it's harder to hold. But that like just to hold in general, so it's kind of annoying. But it's a good phone overall. I'm enjoying it. I'm just enjoying having something new, I guess, on that front. And I have been able to pick up a couple. I'm sure there's actually some of these same games, but there's just kind of looking at the app store, seeing what's different. Most of the stuff's the same, but it's cool. The other thing, my own personal news is, I finally procured, through the help of a very good friend of mine, a PlayStation 5. It has been a long time running, but thankfully, you, my good friend Joe, has helped me to gain access to a PlayStation 5, and I'm eternally grateful.
I signed up for the queue and I gave you my spot. Essentially, is what it was. So, yeah, you can go on Sony's website and you can sign up to get their email, like, and then it's a random lottery. Essentially, it's a hey, we will open up a window for you to go buy from us directly, and in this couple hour window, you may have a chance to buy a PlayStation and some accessories. last time I did this,
I
or I
feel
was
like,
in
yeah,
line, essentially, it was I think I signed in maybe an hour after the allotted window opened.
right.
It's like a 3 or 4 hour window that they give you, and after an hour, like, because I was at work, I was like, I went to look for you, and it was all gone. No, they were all gone. So I was
Yeah.
like, all right. And so eventually, I don't even know how long ago that was, but it was like that morning, they're like, hey guys, you've been selected to go in from like, noon to 4 or something like that. And it was funny because the guy at my office was like, yeah, apparently I'm like, I got emails like from 1 to like 5, and so he's like the next bracket after me. But he's just like, I don't even know if I'm gonna buy it. I'm like, and I messaged you and you were still interested. And so you got yourself we were able to get you a disc version, and that came with a Horizon
Yeah.
Forbidden West. So that's cool.
Yeah, I was pretty flabbergasted. I was definitely like I was like when you told me that I was like I have to. I like I'm pretty thin on. I got plenty of money, but I was trying to spend less this month and trying to hold it to a certain point, and then you were like, "Hey, you could buy this," and I was like, "Fuck, damn it, I gotta freaking do this now." So the old wallet is taking a hit, but August, I'm not spending any money, but I'm super glad to have it, and yeah, I haven't had a chance to fire up Forbidden West yet. I don't know when I'm going to, but because I was planning on playing the new uh, Xeno Chronicles. I can't even think of the name of it right now. Xenoblade Chronicles game. But after I mess with that a little bit, I'll definitely be getting into it. I did fire it up, and it didn't take very long to update. I was expecting to have it updating for a good long time, but it only took probably like 15 minutes to update. Downloading a game though, downloading the new Horizon game, it that did take a good long time because it's a big game. But yeah, so glad to finally have that. I'm sure a lot of people are getting it now. I haven't checked the prices of the scalpers, but I'm sure they've dropped a little bit. But anyway, super glad to that have
Yeah,
that. Very cool.
you got the disc version. So seriously, hit your local library or multiple libraries in your area. Each township, you can sign up for different library accounts and check out to see who has what. If you're
Yeah.
lucky, some of them might be connected, and then you just go on their website and you can get them to order it to deliver to your whatever library. And that's a good way to play PS 5 games, but also PS4 games. So anything that's I recommend that Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They have the PS5 native version now. They just recently did some tweaking to that. You got Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh
I
yeah, I do
really
want to
like
play
that
that.
one. That's
Yeah.
gonna be super pretty for you to watch. I mean, and then you got a few games that you can play, and then play it upscaled, so you can go into like Elden Ring, and then if you wanted to play at the best possible frame rate, you play the PS4 version back compat mode on the PS5. That seems to be the most effective way.
Yeah, I don't know if
Um,
yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm running it
so
I'm running it on a 1080p screen still, but it's a bigger screen. And it's a good. I mean, it's a Sony. Actually, it's an old Sony that my dad had. It's got a good color to it. So even just firing it up, I was like, man, this actually looks better than my rinky-dink old monitors that I've got on my computer. So it's definitely an upgrade. But now I can get a I can get a 4K TV at some point. Not sure when that's gonna happen. But I can get a 4K TV at some point and really make good use of it along with the PlayStation. So yeah, I'm just super grateful to have it. I didn't think I was going to be getting it even this early. I thought maybe Christmas, but I kind of had given up on it honestly because there wasn't as much coming out right away that I felt like I had to play. But and now it's going to be like I need to go finish God of War so I can get the new God of War and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, very cool, very
now
cool.
you can play the God of War on the PlayStation.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you can because I know you own it on PC currently. So, but your PC is a bit older, so
Yeah,
uh,
it definitely chugs on that thing a little bit. But you know, it's fine. I'm already like 12 hours into that, so I need to just ram through the rest of it and try to catch the new one. But yeah, very cool. I'm eternally grateful, and yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, I was glad I was able to help you out with that. I mean, for sure, because I probably wouldn't have ended up using my spot there. Um, and it's just not the right time for me. And at this point in the game, I'm kind of dedicated to waiting for
The
the
iteration,
next half. Well, yeah, it's like generally speaking, by now they would have already come out with the Slim, if in a non-pandemic world.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it's been 2 years, right?
and that's
So
when they've usually come out with an alternate version or something with a bigger hard drive, is also usually the case. I'm not expecting another Pro, probably not until my guess would be like if they come up with a half step, it'll be like fall of next year, 2023.
right.
But I'm hoping that maybe this fall they'd come out with like a 2 terabyte model or something, and that would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, 2 terabytes would be pretty dang awesome and big. This is 825 gig, and that should be enough for a while. I mean, then again, I'm thinking about 1080p assets and stuff like that. But so maybe the games are bigger. The games that I'll be playing will be bigger. But I do also want to buy discs, so that might actually uh, make some headway that way. But
So
our
it's
discs
iffy
just
because a lot of those discs you
they're just
automatically have the day
codes.
one patches.
They're just codes now, right? Like that's what a disc is, just a code to download the game, pretty much, right?
Honestly, like I said, I'm hoping that to get a bigger hard drive version, so I don't have to go out right away and just buy a new hard drive because they finally enabled that feature like I don't know, six
The
months ago or something like
what
that
is it? The
for the
NVMe
expanded.
two drives? Yeah,
Yeah, because that bay was dead up until not that long ago.
yeah,
Like, yeah, we have it, but you can't actually use it. But I need the extra space because my whole hope is that I'd get whatever um, the PlayStation, VR2,
right. Oh
and
yeah.
well,
Oh yeah.
I
I
want to get. It's like there's no. I made the mistake about buying a few games, disc versions for that. I'm like, "No, dude, you never like, if you're in there, you just wanna be able to switch right away. You don't have to take off the headset, insert the disc and put it back on," and it's just that much more annoying, especially when you have to in my case, you have to move furniture just to make a playable space, so that's already a deterrent. You're like, "Yeah, do I really wanna move the sofa so I can actually play VR?" Like, so when you do set it up, you want to be and you're like, okay, cool, I'm done with this. Now I want to jump into something else right away. And then if you're like, well, if I have to do a few extra steps, it's just like, no, I'll just play something else instead. So I'm all about the digital on that front.
Yeah, I forgot about VR2. I might be able to grab that and make good use of that because of the enhanced power that I've got. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's gonna be awesome, man, and I will keep you posted. Um, so let's go ahead and jump right into the news. Not a whole lot of news this week, just a couple things that kind of made me sort of mad. Not a lot of big news though. Um, the first thing up is I don't know how much you've heard about this, Joe, but another another near piece of news from your old pal Nick, near Nick as they call me around the office. Um, this was kind of weird. About a month ago, some people were posting on Reddit about being able to get into some secret room in Nier, and it set the community off running after trying to figure out this new secret, and so nobody else seemed to be able to get into this room. I didn't even hear about this until the end of the story, which has just happened. So basically, people were trying to figure out how this bug, this extra room, what's going on, and then only a couple days ago, um, uh, it was announced, confessed, I don't know, that this secret room in the church in Near Automata is not a bug or really a secret. It's a mod. It's an elaborate, very well made mod from a mod team, and they used this kind of, it's a hoax. I mean, it is what it is, because they let people think that it was a thing native to the game. They let people go on a wild goose chase, wonder this and trying to figure out that. And then they kind of finally came out and said, yeah, it's actually all just, what we did. So it's a very well done mod, but it kind of pissed me off because I was like, I mean, you guys are trying, I don't know, I guess they're trying to make a name for themselves or get attention, but it's like, you guys are fucking lying. It's not a real thing. I would have been, I would have been more accepting of it if they were like, hey, we did this weird thing, and people were like, whoa, what's going on? And they're like, oh, it's just a mod. But to let it go for a month, that's shitty.
I mean, the fact that it took only a month, like, especially with, yeah, I feel like that should have been debunked sooner, actually, thanks to the internet. I mean, it just reminds me of the old hoax that you had back in the arcade days, or when you used to get like magazines, like tips and tricks and something like that. They're like, yeah, here's how you do these extra fatalities for Mortal Kombat or something like that. And you're like, so you're just trying all these ones, and you're like, shit, did I press it wrong? Because it didn't work. And then you're trying it like a handful of times every time. It took up so much time to confirm what was real, what was fake. And then you'd hear stuff like, oh yeah, no, there's all those like, oh yeah, if you beat Metroid at a certain speed, she'll be naked. And you're like, just stupid stuff like that people always
Oh
believe.
yeah,
Nude Raider, that was it. That was always a Tomb Raider. There's a nude mod for Tomb Raider that you have to do this thing. Or like there was always print ups in different magazines about those kind of gimmicks. So that kind of fits the mold.
that's
Yeah,
true.
that's just kind of like, that is the nature of games. People have been lying since the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, back then it's like you're just pulling somebody's leg. I get it. It's a
Well, it's the
rumor.
schoolyard. It's the schoolyard thing.
It's
Like,
a
yeah, my
schoolyard
brother,
rumors.
man,
Yeah.
my brother totally did this thing, and you're like, okay, yeah, like, and then you tell someone else, like, yeah, so and so's brother did it. Yeah, there's that. There's totally a way to get that Pokemon
I
or
have an
something.
uncle that
You
works
know?
at Nintendo, and he said, yeah, everyone's uncle who
Yeah.
works at Nintendo. Yeah, it is kind of a tale as old as games, but it just kind of pissed me off. I was like, yeah, you guys, whatever. But it's a good looking mod. There are some new mod tools that they've created, so people might start making mods in Nier to add more levels and do whatever other nefarious stuff I'm sure that people will do. And I gotta
Already
hand it,
done, man. I mean,
I, g- I gotta hand it to them. They did create something that people were truly convinced about. People were saying that they thought some of the ideas or the before it came out with what the truth was. People were um, guessing that whoever was posting this had an early version of the game, like a version one of the game, that had where that thing had been, where that bug or the extra room had been taken out of the game. But of course that wasn't true. Anyway, it's a thing that happened and it set the community ablaze. And
I think it works best for this though, because it's something you'd believe that they would do. I mean,
yeah,
if you said this about a different game, it's like, a Final Fantasy game or something like that, no one would, like, nah, that's not really so much a thing. But for the Nier franchise or something like that, you believe, like, oh yeah, that's totally something they would do.
because
Like,
Nier
you'd
is
have to.
weird
This is
enough.
ending number 15, part 4. And if you did the sequence right, it would unlock or some shit like that. You could totally see that being a thing they'd do.
Yeah, Nier is weird enough to have all kinds of weird. You'd believe anything about whatever secrets that happened, but it's been 5 years, and the game sold like hotcakes. It has a pretty big fan base. I don't know what the speedrunning community is like for Nier. I don't think it's very robust though, because of kind of the way that it plays. But you would have had somebody find this room.
people just discovered that in like things for Mike Tyson's Punch Out. You know,
Yeah.
uh, it's like
How many
you
people are
just because
playing that though? Like
how
actively,
many
like
people have played that through the history of time, and
yeah,
you're
but
still, that's the
but but
thing.
but but the internet does amazing things for the speedrunning community because the internet makes it so you can jump on a game, learn how to speedrun it, and do a bunch, and then advance it. Mike Tyson's Punch Out was everyone playing it in a silo for decades, and then the
That's
game's
been
not
in the
popular
speedrunning
anymore.
community so much to the point where people have done head-to-head competitions in speedruns blindfolded
Yeah.
to try to beat that, and they've that's
But the number of, but the no, I'm just saying like the number of people like rushing at it. Like, yeah,
I'm betting
it's been
there's
a
more
long time.
speedrunners for Punch Out than there was for Nier.
I'm sure there are now, but I'm talking about like the number of people just playing the game. Yeah, you could have 1,000 speedrunners, but if you've got like 5 million like rinky dink whatever people playing Nier all at once, attacking like wall running and just looking while pressing X, and doing all kinds of stuff. Just the sheer numbers might be enough to to me to break open everything that every secret the game has to offer. Also, going into the code is something that people will do. It's a lot easier to do on a modern game. On Mike Tyson's Punch Out, I don't know, like that is weird though that people are still just now figuring certain things out about it.
Yeah, I mean, a few years back, it was like a bald bull. His technique is, it's always been really rough to get the timing down, but there's a camera flash in the background. And it's literally
Oh,
as simple as that. You see this dude take a camera flash, and then that's your cue to hit the button.
yeah.
And it's like, but literally undiscovered. Like a few people might have known it, but no one really made it public or like wrote about it. So that was like the first. That was a huge thing. There's a few other things in that game, but like old games like that are getting still have like tons of secrets. But as far as Nier goes, I mean, no one really questions it because they'll believe it because, once again, it's Yoko Taro, the man
Yeah.
who makes a stage play that only runs twice and has canon facts that no one ever knows about because you'd have to buy the booklet that went with the stage play or seen it live. So,
That's got to have ended
or
up online, but yeah,
yeah,
it's weird stuff. If it did happen, and it was true, it would be a near game, and
for
uh,
sure.
and like I mean they finished up their work on the mobile game, the near reincarnation game, and they just like the Yoko Taro's like, okay, we're done making Near, bye, and it's like, yeah, I think he said in an interview, but we'll make another one if Square Enix will just give us a big old pile of money. Um, so I think there's probably more Near coming out because I mean, gosh, there's the last one sold hot like hotcakes. Whatever they make for the new one will sell big. But
Yeah,
anyway,
but the thing is, Square always has the worst expectations for what their games should be making and what because if you're talking about things that sold well, I mean, you had like Deus Ex and you had Tomb Raider, and they're like, yeah, it didn't make our expectations. You sold fucking so much, and you're still like, it still didn't meet your expectations. Maybe you should tone it down. But they seem to be more forgiving with Japanese companies. They're like,
they
yeah,
are.
these. Because these like Tomb Raider, we cranked out a couple of them. They sold pretty well, didn't meet our expectations, but we'll still pay to have this Kingdom Hearts game come out
Yeah.
whenever that
And,
is,
and based on the first Near, I think that they didn't expect Near Automata to sell very well. Maybe 1 million or a couple million, but not like five like it did sell. So and I've read interviews where Yoko Taro has said that ever since Near Automata, did so well, that people at the company listen, like whenever he starts talking, the higher ups at the company will stop talking and listen to what he says and take it to heart. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But anyway, it's definitely a perk of the job, but it kind of adds more expectations to whatever they make next. So I'm kind of worried that the people, the higher up people will screw things up if they try to make something else. But anyway, Nier Mod Hoax, don't believe the hype, whatever. Um, the next thing on the docket, Diablo Immortal makes $100 million in 8 weeks. China market is not even open yet. Um, I pulled this because like no matter how much people complain and review bomb and this and that and talk about how much they hate a certain game and how much it's maligned, like they know you're gonna buy it. They don't have like Blizzard doesn't have to. It just makes me mad because I'm like they make a game that people hate and is geared toward whales and people say horrible things about it and it has terrible ratings and it still makes money. It still just makes tons and tons of money. So
Yeah. You also got a lot of people who like, I'm gonna test this game out just to see what it is, and then they, of course, after playing it for a bit, they're like, well, I want to support the developers, and or I want to get a little bit ahead of this game to see what it's all about. So then they'll buy the best value pack of whatever currencies in those type of games, and it may only be like anywhere from $5 to $20, and but you do that enough with enough people just sampling the game, and they may stop before, I don't know, 15, 20 hours.
yeah,
Uh, but in a lot of those people's minds, they're like, yeah, I got my, $20 worth. It's just like, it's better than a price, better than going to the movies, as far as the amount of time spent for money spent. Like,
that's
so
true.
you hit enough of those people, even if they gave it a bad review, they still said you already got their money, so it doesn't matter. Um, I
Yeah,
actually have stayed away from this, but then again, I was super disappointed with Diablo 3. I really liked it when it came out to console. I really liked it. Like I played through the first couple levels, um, made it to the desert multiple times with multiple different characters, and I just can never finish it. It was just something. There was just not enough driving force. The loot for loot's sake wasn't enough to do it for me, and the story was really lackluster. So I was really bummed. I know they just announced some new DLC coming out, but like I said, I've been so far gone from it that I just like, all right. Diablo fans will always love Diablo, and I have a buddy that no matter how many times they come out with a new Diablo 1 or 2, guaranteed to buy it. Just blindly just gonna buy it. And I'm like, "Why?" Like, no one else is like, "Yeah, but I still really love it." It's such
nostalgia, man.
their youth is so connected to that game, that it brings them back to that warm, safe place, and that's why they always give them a shot with Diablo.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess this 100 million, like most of that money they make is from people who don't care about like reviews. They don't read reviews. They're just like, oh, Diablo, this game is cool. I'm gonna buy it and play it. I'm gonna just play it and pay money for it. Um, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like, so like what? So there just seems to be a disconnect there for me. Like, so many people hate this game. I played it. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was very good. I thought the story was bland and uh, boring, and didn't grab me. Didn't do anything special in the first hour 2 hours that I played it. It was just fetch quests and stuff like that. Go to this dungeon, kill some enemies, and then kill the boss. And you're not really having to think, or you're just it's almost a clicker. I mean, it's not quite a clicker, but it's dang close to a clicker. Um, and for me, but I mean, for what it was a good one of those. I'll kind of admit that. Um, a good clicker, I'll admit that. But like, I don't know. Something about this just doesn't sit right with me. Like, people hate this game, but it still makes money. I didn't really care for it. I would have rather them spend whatever amount of time and money and manpower that they did developing this game. I would rather them make something else. But and
Well, I
but
thought the core foundation was based off a Chinese cell phone game. I think that was the whole like scandal originally when it first came out. It was essentially the company who made like the big thing was it's based off a Chinese mobile game
I don't know.
that
But I
Yeah,
know
I
that
thought that was
China is like a big market, and they're gonna, and that's kind of the thing is like the Chinese market isn't even open yet, so they made all this money, and they're going to print even more money, maybe even more than they've already made, uh, whenever the Chinese market opens. So I don't know. It's just sad because like it just sucks because like the development the development has to follow the dollars, and the dollars go after games that are just just not that good. I don't know. I'm like, why? Like, I don't know. It's just like, why are people? It's just I guess it's just addiction. People are just like, it's just gambling. It's just a gambling addiction. There's a random there's a random number generator that gives them a a a treasure chest if they put enough money into it, and then that's what gets people like it's what gets people going. Not a good story or a good gameplay. It all just boils down to gambling. I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, like I said, it's just honestly, it's not that surprising that a mobile game was going to make money based
I
off a
know.
franchise like this. So, I mean, granted, if they can reskin any of their old Blizzard properties, then it's guaranteed to make money in mobile. So it's just, it kind of is what it is. You know, try to not play it and not spend money on it. That's all but they'll still
Yeah.
make money one way or the other.
Yeah,
And like
you're
I said,
right.
they
They're
made,
gonna make money.
despite all the scandals, despite all their, all the turmoil that the company's been with recently, it still did pretty good. So, I mean,
Yep.
it's not like, what do you expect? I mean, it's
Nobody
maybe
cares.
unfair. So,
Nobody gives a shit.
so
It's just like
yeah,
I mean, I mean, Diablo 4 though, for what we've seen of it, it looks good. I don't know what the UI is going to be like. It looks good. Um, we'll see what happens when the rubber meets the road. But if it does kind of meet the promises that the trailer made, then I'll be glad to eat my words because that does look like a return to form, and I'll definitely play it, and not just because I have a podcast about games, but because I actually want to. But anyway,
I'll say. Speaking of trailers,
speaking of trailers,
you're welcome.
the this is a little shit piece of news. It's not even really about games. The D&D movie trailer came out. I think since our last podcast, and one of my buddies that I play D&D with, he posted it in our Discord channel. He's like, "Hey, D&D trailer," and I was like, "Hasn't this been out for a while?" But I looked, and it was a newly dropped trailer. Doesn't look horrible. D&D movie does not look terrible. I was expecting utter dog shit, but it looks like I think I read an article, somebody complaining about how it's just another Marvel movie. Yeah, yeah, it is, and for that I will reprimand it. But D&D, the Hasbro wants to make money, and so they're
Who
gonna.
is the studio behind this, actually? Do you know?
I don't know. Um, I'm not sure who the studio actually is, but I know that Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, and Wizards of the Coast runs D&D.
All right, I think it's Paramount, from just but yeah, if you're gonna be, I think they chose the wrong Chris to play the Bard. They have Chris Pine, who's Captain Kirk,
I
and
like
then
Chris Pine.
rebooted. Like, yeah, but of course you go with Chris Pratt, right? Everyone's favorite Star
He's
Lord.
busy.
Um,
He's he. To be fair,
Too busy doing
he
Mario. He's too busy doing everything else. But
he
yes,
would have been a better. He would Chris as Chris Pratt would have been a better Bard. Just as a Bard, he would have been better.
yes,
I would have thought that they went with Chris Pine as the Bard, but to me, Chris Pine would have made a pretty good thief rogue. You know,
yep.
um,
So
but
they have Hugh Grant as the Rogue,
yeah, which is also
which is
good. Which is good. It's not horrible. I think they should switch the roles. I think Pine should be the rogue, and Hugh Grant should be the bard. That makes more sense. But you know, it is what it is. That like when I was watching the trailer, I was like watching it, arms crossed. I was like, this is gonna be dog shit. And it came up, and they had this and that. They had the mimic. I was like, okay, that's a good joke. And they had the owlbear. And it looks like it's just gonna be a oh, we got to go kill the bad guy kind of movie. But it didn't look horrible. And they've got some actors, they've got, a variation. It might be what I was looking for was was a movie that was more closely related to D&D as it is now than the movie that came out, in 2000, 2002? When was that movie that came out?
Oh yeah, that one.
I never saw it, but it apparently had like nothing to do with anything as far as D&D is concerned. And it was
Yeah,
bad.
I'm actually I can't remember who. I can imagine who the bad guy was too, and I can't
It
think of
was
his name now
Scar.
off the top of my head.
It was Scar. It was who is Scar? From Lion King.
Um, yeah, I'm terrible with names, so
It's
you're
that
on your
guy.
own on this one.
It's that guy. That guy was the bad guy, and nothing else happened. I never saw it, but I heard it was bad, and I believe that's probably an accurate assessment. So this movie may not be good, but at least it looks like it has a fighting chance, and at least it's about D&D in a way. So I was like, okay, you've got the rogue, you've got the bard, you got the fighter. I was like, I can at least tell that they are giving me character classes and they're turning it into a story. And I would just hope that when they wrote this movie, they rolled the dice a couple times to see what happens, rather than just give it all to, oh, we need this and that and this and that. But I'm sure it was very carefully plotted out, paint by numbers fashion. Anyway,
I mean, from what it looked like, they just I mean, they had what was it Michelle Rodriguez as the
Barb.
barbarian.
Okay,
Uh,
that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, that's well casted. I'm not sure. Wasn't really too familiar with the other people in the cast, so I was just like, all right. Um, Jeremy Irons is who we were thinking of before.
Jeremy
Uh,
Irons.
yes.
Okay.
And like they. I was hoping they recast him. Is who else have. I was like, they should have him as a nod to the old movie because he
uh,
does a good bad guy.
that would be a
I don't care.
great cameo. I mean, he could be the bad guy, sure, but just as a cameo, that would be great.
Yeah, for
Oh
sure.
man.
So that's what I was I would have originally had hoped for. Um, but yes, they have as far as the ensemble of D&D classes. I mean, you got a bard, sorcerer, rogue, um, druid, paladin, and uh, yeah, like or I'm sorry, yeah, we already had the bard and barbarian. Yeah, so yeah, it's like six classes. So I'm like, all right,
That's
that's
about the size.
fine.
Yeah, that's about the size you want. They say 4 to 6 players besides the DM whenever you're playing most adventures, and I think that's any more than 6, and it's getting really any more. I play a game with 5 guys, and it's pretty hairy sometimes. So any more than 6 would be it's pretty difficult to get everybody to be able to participate. That's just me. That's just my DM talking. So I'll shut up about that. But anyway, I probably won't go see this movie in the theaters. I'm just going to be honest. I like D&D. This movie doesn't look great. It looks okay. How about you? What do you think?
Dude, you've as long as we've been doing this, when have I gone to see a movie in the theaters?
I had to
I mean,
ask. I had to ask.
I
I knew the
haven't seen a
answers.
movie in the theaters. I honestly can't remember the last time I saw a movie in the theaters. I think it might have been Rogue One, and then I
Oh,
never
and you're
wanted to
a
see a movie
hater.
again after that because that was a
We
terrible
saw that
fucking movie.
together.
We did not.
We saw Rogue One and Moana in Hawaii.
I've seen Moana. I saw it in Hawaii, but I also did we see Rogue One?
I think it was Rogue. It was a double feature, Rogue One, and then we were late to Moana, or vice versa. I can't remember.
Okay, I'll take your word on that. I can't
I
remember that far.
am almost positive because that was a pretty good double. That was one of the better double features that I haven't been to that many double features, but that's one of the better double features I've ever done for myself. Um,
Yeah, it's like I said, I honestly don't remember it all. So it's just that was one of the I know I saw the last couple Star Wars movies before whatever was before Han Solo. Um, and yeah, that was probably the last time I saw a movie in theaters. After that, I'm just like, no, it's very few movies have made me want to go out to the theaters to see it, and a few of them that did, just unfortunately my schedule didn't pan out, so
right.
I wasn't able to. And since the pandemic, and now I have kids, I'm like, it's not worth spending daycare or someone to
To
babysit my kids and then go pay movie theater prices. So
movies are
yeah, it ain't happening.
movies are so expensive. By the
Plus, you're
time,
getting them so fast now on like any Disney Marvel thing. It's going to come within months to Disney Plus.
yeah, man.
Um,
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before. I love the theater, but it is so much harder to go and try to do that rather than just, well, I'll wait for it to come out on demand and then I can watch it whenever I want. But I don't know. That's the world we live in. And anyway, so that's pretty much it for the newsy news. There's some other little things. I think Sony added 10 or 1440p support, which isn't totally all the way there, but whatever. That's who gives a shit. Um, so let's get over into what we've been playing, the video games on this video game podcast we've been playing. I will go first. I've been playing two games. The first game came out, what is it? I think last weekend, something like that. Little game called Stray. Uh, it is a game that I'm sure you've heard about now if you're listening to this podcast. It's a little game about a stray cat. That's all that I knew about it. It's a game about a stray cat and maybe some little. I didn't really even know anything about the futuristic aspects of this game, but there are a lot of futuristic aspects, robots and stuff like that. I thoroughly enjoyed this game, as did most people who have played it. It is overwhelmingly positive, the reviews for it on Steam. Uh, and I would say that that's fair. Um, I would say if people are just giving it a yay or nay, it's pretty hard to give this game a bad review.
it's pretty hard.
It's
Okay.
pretty hard to give this game a bad review. It is simple. It is sweet. It is effective in what it's trying to do. It's a little expensive, $30, and I beat it in just over 6 hours. I kind of blew through the middle stage, which I didn't really understand that when I left that area that I was not going to be able to come back. So that was surprising. There wasn't a whole lot to do there, I don't think, but I did blow through it. Um, and I kind of blew through the end because I was like, I actually beat it like 5 minutes before we got on the podcast. So I like just beat it. It's fresh in my mind. Um, it's a good game. It's a good game. I think $30 is right about the price point the upper end that I would want to pay for this. 35, and I would definitely be like, I don't know about this, but it's well made. It's not really, didn't really glitch out on me too much. There was some parts where my system was kind of like, what's going on here as far as frame rate. But it's a good little game. It's a good little game. One of the better games I've played this year. So it'll definitely be mentioned in the game of the year talk, I think. But so Joe, have you heard anything about this game? Do you have any desire to play it? What are your thoughts?
I am not a sucker for cats, so I don't play anything with cats on it like other people on this podcast.
Fuck you.
Don't be angry at the truth, man. But on that note,
The
it
cats are
does look very
fine.
good.
It's kind of amazing to me that there's somebody hasn't made a game about a cat so far. At least not one that was, I don't know. I haven't really heard. I can't think of one that's truly about a cat just doing kind of cat things. I was afraid this game was going to be boring. Was just going to be like kind of like a walk around and you're a cat. Oh, do this, do that. I didn't realize it had a truly sci-fi, aspect to it.
Yeah, because the photos originally shot made it have a like a cyberpunk-ish backdrop.
Yeah.
You had the neon lights, the rain. So that's kind of the vibe that I got from it originally. And I'm like, all right, that's interesting to have it in that kind of setting.
Hmm.
So I really my I knew nothing about it when I first, beforehand, and so my thought was like, is your brain just going to be downloaded into a cat? Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah.
That's because because of the cyberpunk future, you see the cat with a backpack and stuff. I'm like, you have to have a human brain, right?
Yeah.
Experiment gone wrong, hacker or something. It's like, oh no, they're about to, they're tracing me, so I have to quick put my consciousness into something. So, that's kind of what the vibe I had gotten from it, just out of the photos alone, like not knowing anything about it.
I will
But
say
no,
there are some
yeah,
parts in it where, like, if I'm going to be kind of more critical of it, yeah, the story is sort of ho hum. It is kind of predictable what's going to happen and how, uh, but it doesn't waste your time. It does. It's like it gives you what you kind of know is going to happen, but it's like at least you're constantly doing things. You're constantly using the tools that they give you for figuring out puzzles. Nothing's too long. Nothing's too hard. Um, and then I forget what else I was going to say, but it's decent. I would say that there was one point where I did start to look something up because I was pretty sure the game glitched on me. The game does autosave, and you can't load old saves, so that's bad. Don't do that. Well, if you're out there making a game and somehow are forced to listen to this podcast, don't ever do that. Make it so I can go back and load an old save. But anyway, so that's one thing that I will say is bad about this game. It didn't hurt me, but I was afraid that it did, and I'm sure somebody out there has gotten locked out because of some glitch, because that's the reality of games, is they glitch. But anyway, I ended up starting to look up what I thought was stuck, and then I was like, I looked at it, and there's like, and they gave me one hit, and I was like, oh, that's it. Okay, so I ran around and checked a couple more things, but um, it's not bad. It's not a bad game. It's definitely at least good. And it did hit me right in the feels toward the end, despite myself. But anyway, I enjoyed it. And I've got it on Steam, Joe, so you can play it. You can come over to the cat side and just enjoy the sweetness of a very smart cat. I remember now what I was going to say. It does kind of jump. It does kind of jump. You have to make some like fantasy leaps. It's like, okay, but a cat can't really understand that. So it does anthropomorphize the cat a little bit, just a little bit, just to make it fun. But it's the rule of cool, I'll say, where it's like, this would be cool if this could happen. And so if you can just accept that, then the rest of the game is all right. I think I
all
cut
right.
you off there.
I'll go ahead and give it a shot. Just because if you're actually going to be looking at this as one of your personal game of the year contenders, then of course I'm going to give it at least its fair due.
This isn't winning. This isn't winning for me. Um, but it's possible. I want to get away from it and see how I remember it in December. If I'm like, yeah, that game was good. If I remember it fondly, it might age well over time, and it might not. But it's not winning number one, that's for sure. And it might make top 5, but maybe not even that. I don't know. But yeah, I would say
Not with the
try it.
Pandora's box of PlayStation games you just opened up in front of you.
I know. I just bought myself so much pain, so much pleasure, and so much pain. But yeah, so I recommend trying it. It is a short game. How long to beat is giving it like 4.5 hours. That seems pretty quick to me if you don't do anything special or any kind of looking around. I beat it in 6, but the longer completionists are saying about 8 or 9. So it's very digestible. I will say that is one great thing it has going for it. So the other game that I played, before we get to what you played, um, is a phone game. I'm looking around for text adventure type games, um, and I was searching on that on the App Store, going like, I wonder, if they've got anything good. I saw this one that I played a long time ago that I didn't really care for, but it had like a ton of downloads compared to the other ones. I was like, I'll pass that. So I went for this other one that is, I believe it's Korean made, and it's called Life in Adventure. Um, and I was like, oh, I'll give this a try. It has a nice looking aesthetic and had a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand downloads, not too many. But the reviews in it were stellar. People were like, "This game is really good. This game is really cool." Um, so I downloaded it and I've been playing it, and it's pretty addictive. It's every adventure they give you is like a page long. I'm getting in toward the end game of a run, and it's getting longer. But early on, the first half of a run, every adventure is like a page long. It gives you a choice. Another page gives you a choice, and then you move on. And a lot of times you can skip stuff. It'll be like, do you want to? It'll be like, engage with this or go away. And it's like, I can tell this is not going to be good for me, and I'll go away. Um, it's got D&D type stats, so all your dex, strength, charisma, all that stuff, and then it's got like a limited item system. It's got one die roll that you do in combat. Um, Besides, I guess some percentage stuff. So it does give you percentage stuff, but as far as like an actual die that you roll, there is whenever you go into combat, you have the choice to roll a die. Gives you the percentage chance of winning, but if so, it's dumb to take the die roll if you have a better percent chance of winning, or like a 60-70% chance of winning. But if you have a low percentage chance of winning and you take that die roll and you roll like a 19 or a 20, then it can turn the tide for you, and you can like have a really good chance of winning. Um, so I've just been playing this game just whenever I have a free moment, I'm taking a shit or I'm about to go to bed, or I'm sitting in traffic, or waiting on groceries or whatever. I'll just fire it up and do a couple missions, and I'm like, dang, this game is. I'll just find myself kind of getting lost in it. It's a cool little game, and it has a nice pixelated art aesthetic. Throws a little bit of art at you every once in a while. It's pretty cool. I recommend it.
Yeah, I had never even heard of it, so it's interesting.
Yeah, it's Korean made. Sometimes the English is not great. 98% of the time, English is fine in it, but sometimes they have some missteps and some weirdly worded stuff. Um, but it's also, it does have ads, but they're very pleasant. Every time you level up, it'll throw an ad at you, which is pretty few and far between. And then you can you can like, I think you can make ads go away for like $5. I might do that. I don't know how far I don't know how much longer I'm gonna play this game, but I might play it and then, I don't know, give them a couple bucks as a tip, because I feel like games like this should exist. It's not overbearing, and it deserves money. I'll say that.
The two games I'll recommend, since you just got an iOS now, is or a device, is Year Walk. Um,
Heard of that? Yeah.
and yeah, that one's a pretty good one. Has a neat art aesthetic to it. And the other one was Device 6. Both of these came out like a while ago, like a long time ago. Um, and Device 6 is an interesting game. It does things cleverly, like, at least at the time, I remember never coming across anything like quite like that for the iOS. It really uses its medium in a clever way.
Right.
Reminds you of, was it uh, is it Supermassive? The guys who did, Sackboy, but they made a Tearaway for the Vita.
Oh yeah.
So I can't remember, like, but Tearaway I forget who made Tearaway, but anyways, Tearaway did you was able to use the Vita to its full potential, really clever. Um, something similar to that effect with Device 6. It just does some stuff that's really unique, and it's really I don't wanna say anything without spoiling it, but totally worth a shot. It's not that expensive, it's probably, like, less than $5. Um, and yeah, totally give it a shot. So put that on your list to just test out because, you got your phone and you got some stuff, some time to kill.
Yeah, man. I like phone games sometimes. Most of them are bad, but okay, okay. Um, one thing I did appreciate about the Samsung, Google Store is that you could put stuff on your wish list, and I'm not seeing how to do that on here. Um, Dadgummit. Well, anyway, I'm gonna leave that up, and I will consider buying it. I'm really trying to just try not to spend any more money. Yeah, I know it's only $4, but I'm really trying to hold the line here, man. I really am. Um,
Cook a few more meals for yourself. Don't go out to eat for a couple times.
I
Tell the
know,
coworkers,
I know, but
go to your house, bring beers. Don't go to the bar. You'll be fine.
yeah, you're right. You're right. Anyway, but yeah. So I honestly, if it is on, I don't know if it's on Google devices or the Google Play Store, but I do recommend it. It's I actually recommended it to my D&D group. I was like, hey guys, if you like text adventures, this is pretty cool. And they're like, oh, I might check it out. I don't think any of them did, but um, I didn't. I'm not that big into text adventures. Um, I think a dark room was really good. Did you ever play that?
No, I didn't actually.
I think it's $1. I'm sure it's still on there, but it is a text adventure, and it is a like an ASCII type. It has like ASCII type text maps, like a map that's made of text. Um, and that is a really good game. That's a very very short experience. That is a very good game. I would recommend that. I played that back when I was in Japan, so it's pretty old now, but that probably has aged pretty well too, just because it's just words. But I don't play too many of those games. But this one I was like, dang, this is actually pretty cool. Anyway, I'll shut up about it. Good game. Go out and get it. But you played a game as well. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah, so on Game Pass, they have a game called Overwhelm, and it has like a very I don't know, like old Nintendo Game Boy
Okay.
you know, vibe to it. It has has a very muted color palette of just red. You can do shifts of like and it's the graphics are that of a Game Boy. It looks like it's the gameplay is like an homage to um, Metroid, the old like Metroid 2 specifically, Return of Samus,
Right.
which was a Game Boy game, and so that's why, like, okay, this feels right at home. Totally get the vibes. You start out the first level, just drop straight down. You can go left or right. It's you have that Metroid level design. Like, okay, cool. Know exactly how to play this game. And I gave it a little chance and got to like this one first like little boss creature, and it just one hit killed me. I'm like, ah, crap. Okay. Turns out that you're this is a more of a Dark Souls-esque, like when as far as difficulty curve, and not being forgiven. You have, like, 3 lives, essentially, but one hit and you're done, and you have to go back to, like, your last, whatever checkpoint it was, and, so, yeah, this game is not that forgiving. It's like, if you want an easier time, go with a Metroid game. That's for
Mm,
darn sure. Honestly, it was a fine enough game. I played just like maybe an hour and a half of it, and went couple different routes. And like, yeah, I totally see what they're going for. I just feel that there's something lacking. I can see some people really digging it and just really getting going all in, but uh, in the end, I was just like, yeah, this is cool for what it is, but I can't see myself trying to do this to completion.
Yeah.
Uh, I kind of wish it was. Uh, more than just this minor pixel art. I would have wanted bigger sprites, a little more color like after a while it gets a little grating for at least for my eyes.
Mhm.
But they do a good job. Like they went for in my opinion, they went for an aesthetic and they nailed it. Like they totally achieved what they wanted. Um, and so it's just like, good on them. But honestly, I'm not really too sure how many people would, in the end would end up liking this, but I give it a shot if you like anything old school pixel games or if you like something a little more difficult and challenging. It's on Game Pass. It's also on the Switch. So
Oh wow.
I'm not
Okay.
actually sure how much it costs. I mean, dude, it's totally perfect on the Switch, honestly.
Really? Okay.
Uh, it's really simple controls, and just a simple aesthetic. That was another thing to get used to though, is because you have your jump and fire buttons are your shoulder buttons, because you're using your right thumbstick to aim in in a 360 direction. So you're constantly moving left thumbstick, right thumbstick, you're aiming wherever you have to shoot. So that means you have to pull either right trigger or right bumper. You can remap the keys, but and then you have to jump with your other bumper or trigger. So that wasn't. I don't know. I mean, it's the most logical control scheme. I tried, like, readjusting. I'm like, "Yeah, what if I try this or this?" I'm like, "You know what? No, they had it right. I just have to reprogram my brain to make this work, efficiently." And I just yeah, like I said, it just there was some sort of disconnect. Maybe I just wasn't feeling it. But in the end, I was kinda let down because I thought it looked really cool. I'm like, "Alright, this is" you know yeah, it is of a thing, and so I guess it's just that's about it. Like, I gave it a shot, and but I don't see myself personally going back to it. I also just don't have time for games that are like a little more unforgiving. I
Yeah.
gave my time to Elden Ring, and I'm like, that's fine. I can run away from combat in that, and I can explore other areas much easier. But at the same time, I'm not gonna finish that game. I
Yeah.
have no time for that,
It's
so
so much. It's just you're asking for so much with a game like that. And I don't know. I meet people who have beaten games like that and spend like hundreds of hours just doing that stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, how do you have time to do all that? 120 hours in one game. I don't care if it's like a really good game. Anyway,
it's
um,
easier if you sacrifice things like, watching TV, or then you just double up, any show that you're watching. Make sure to give
yeah,
it your divided attention.
yeah,
So
your undivided attention. Yeah.
no,
Uh,
no, divided attention. You don't wanna pay attention to the TV you're doing.
oh, I see
You
what
have
you're
to
saying.
have it on a second screen.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean that I don't like doing that. I think you're not really for me. I never get very good experience out of that. It's like to me, it's just best to stick with the thing you're doing and just do that. But um, yeah, that's something cool, like a pretty cool experience. I was looking for good Switch games. I might try it, but at least maybe on Game Pass and move it over to Switch.
Yeah, give it a check. Test it out on Game Pass first, and then if you like it, by all means, go ahead and buy it on the Switch. But most definitely, give it a shot for free. Like, since you're already paying for Game Pass, you might as well sample it there.
Yeah. All right. That's it's good. I'm glad you enjoyed that as much as you did. Um, so you okay to just cut right through and go through our
Yeah,
TV?
let's go for it.
All right. So we're gonna go to what we've been watching. I'll go first again, just a little bit of stuff here. I've been watching a little bit of anime here and there, but for the most part, I've just been trying to make good on my promise to start uh, Kaguya-Sama, Love is War, and I did. I think I'm 8 or 10 episodes into the first season there. Um, How many? I don't know. How many episodes are in each of the seasons? Is it 12 or like 20, or do you remember?
I don't remember. I'm gonna say it's 12 a season
Okay.
is probably the safe bet.
Okay.
So
Well, then this shouldn't be too hard to get caught up with. Then I was gonna say I thought the third season had 12, but I could be wrong. And I didn't want to look it up and spoil something for myself by accident.
oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but I'm enjoying it. I do see why the show is as popular as it is. It's very digestible and very cute. And anyway, it's pretty cool. I'm definitely enjoying it. It's very funny a lot of the time. I did think after about the third episode, I was kind of like, if this is kind of all the show is, then I don't know how. I don't know how much I agree with people who like it so much. But I think in that fourth or fifth episode, they opened up things a little bit more, and I was like, oh, okay, they're gonna continue to expand and kind of involve more characters and more situations, and it'll continue to advance. So I definitely am liking it, and I'll keep going with that. Um, I did watch two Netflix documentaries. One kind of led into the other. The first one I watch is I watched as a one called "The Girl in the Picture," which is a really sad story um, about a woman who died. She was 20 years old, and whenever she died, she was hit by a car, kind of walking, hit by a car or a truck, kind of walking out in the middle of nowhere. And she lived long enough to make it to the hospital, but she died of her injuries. And then they started doing digging on who this person was, and a lot of really horrible stuff came up. And anyway, it's full of a lot of bad stuff that has like child abuse and stuff in it. They don't like show it, but they do talk about it a lot. Um, but it was really interesting um, to watch, and it's a pretty compelling story. So you know, if you're out there and you can stomach that kind of stuff, maybe give it a try. But it's I guess the moral that I can pull from it is that this woman, without giving spoilers away for what happens, pretty much everybody in her life from the day she was born failed her in every conceivable way that a person can be failed. Um, and as you watch it, as you watch it and you come to the end, you'll see what I mean. Um, but it's just kind of a sad story. Like I said, very compelling. But I guess if I was going to say anything else about it, is just that you know the people in your life, try hard with them. Try try hard with your family and your friends. Ask questions and try to get to the bottom of things that are strange or weird. And if something horrible happens to that person or around that person, um, and you know about it, say something to an authority figure. That's something that happens in this. In this, is something horrible happens, and one of her friends witnesses it, and they don't dwell on it in the show. But I'm like, why didn't this person go to the police after witnessing this horrible thing? Like, anyway, I didn't mean to turn this into a PSA, but I was just kind of I was watching it. I was like, people in this lady's life, they just dropped the ball in every possible way. And I know they didn't want to get involved and they didn't want to this or that, but it's there comes a point where as a good person, if you consider yourself to be a good person or to care about somebody else, you've got to step in and at least check on what's going on. But anyway, so watch that if you dare. The other one I watched is a documentary called "Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey," And this has been recommended to me a bunch of times. But after I watched Girl in the Picture, I was like, I'll try another documentary. This one, the girl in the picture was like one hour and 40 minutes documentary, and it was done. The Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey was 4 episodes, all about an hour long, and it is about a what do they call them, the fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints. So they shortened it to FLDS Church, and some of the stuff that they were doing in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it centers on, so basically this is a fundamentalist Mormon church that resides out in, they were out in Nevada. And so they were very much into the polygamy stuff. And it goes through a lot of the early kind of stuff that goes on with that. And
Are you sure it's not Utah?
yeah, that's kind of what was weird. They kept mentioning Utah was definitely mentioned, but I think this particular sect was dancing between the Nevada and Arizona line, because they mentioned Arizona and Nevada a lot, but it might have been Utah, and they were going into Nevada to do certain stuff.
I don't. Just when the polygamy portion is generally Utah, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, so I was definitely confused by that too. I maybe didn't listen close enough to really catch. I kind of assumed Utah at the beginning, and then I kind of noticed they were saying stuff about crossing into Nevada or crossing into or something like that. So they're out in the desert for sure, and they were practicing polygamy, but they were doing it, as far as the law is concerned, legally, more or less. They were skating by on just hoping people didn't question them, and everything was going hunky-dory, more or less. But it starts off with a guy with their prophet, a guy named Rulon Jeffs, and he was getting old. And it's kind of the crazy stuff is like, they were told that he would never die. He would get old, and then one day he would be made young again. And he gets older and older and older, and then he dies, and then they put him in the ground, and they're just like, the people that they're interviewing are like, we were so confused as to why he was not like getting up again. And whenever they put him in the ground, I was like, how is he going to get up out of the grave if we put dirt on him? Anyway, so it kind of they kind of showed, and the people they interviewed were like, you don't understand. We were totally like, they were like, it's easy for you as they call non-believers Gentiles. They were like, it's easy for you as a Gentile to think, why don't you just like get up and not do that or escape or whatever. But the interviewees all were saying, when you grow up in that and it's all you know, and you're basically brainwashed to think everything that they say is right, you just think crazy things. And I was like, huh, okay, I guess that makes sense. But anyway, to kind of finish up talking about it, it's the old prophet dies, and then they have to make a new prophet, and it's this guy named Warren, who's one of the sons of the old prophet, and things start to really spiral out of control when Warren comes into play. He starts mixing things up and changing the rules, and it's pretty obvious to me the places that he messed up. I think that it would be to you if you watched all of it, but it's pretty compelling. They do a pretty good job of weaving a tale, and it has a very interesting conclusion, and some weird stuff with the government that I think the government. So there's definitely a big bust that happens, but the way that it happens is there's a call that's made spoiler alert, there's a call that's made, and in the documentary they say, so there's a call that's made, and then that allowed the government agency to come in and make a bust, and then they kind of say it was discovered that that call was a hoax, and then they just go on, and I was like, hang on a minute. So there's a call that ended up being bogus, and all of everything that was done to go in uh, was off of this hoax call.
It's the we need to go into this house and search, search, but we don't have a warrant. Like, oh no, help me! Oh, you hear that? Someone needs help, and you kick down the door. Oh, well, it must have been the TV. Well, we're already in here, so
Yeah, and
we
it's
have a right to see, to search and seizure, right?
yeah, it's like
So
it's like what the people are doing is illegal, and in many ways, maybe morally or ethically wrong. Um, but there is a due process kind of thing here, and they skipped over it. But I was kind of like, I think you guys kind of skimped on the due process a little bit. Um, I just wanted to
so
point
you're
that
saying that you would be able to run a better polygamy cult?
yes, I would be
Good.
able to run a better polygamy cult. Um, at
Okay.
least I definitely learned a lot from what this Warren guy did wrong. But anyway, so yeah, I was kind of like that, you know, yeah, these people should probably be investigated, blah blah. But there's a due process thing, and that was seems to me like that was glossed over pretty in a pretty heavy-handed way. Whatever. Anyway, talking about the show itself, it's well put together. It was interesting. I was hooked. I watched all of it. And anyway, that was kind of my foray into documentaries. I just want to take a break from other stuff and watch something different than what I usually watch. And I probably won't watch anymore. There's nothing else out that there's nothing else out there that really is catching my eye for now. But yeah. Anyway, so I watched that stuff. And Joe, what have you been watching?
All right. Well, I'll start this off with just to give you further information that Kaguya-Sama Love is War. Season 1 and 2 are 12 episodes. Season 3 is 13 episodes.
Okay, that's about
And
right.
when you finish all that, if you want to have yourself a good old time, I would recommend drinking while watching something. I would say watch the live action movies. There's two of them.
There's
Most
Kaguya-Sama live action movies.
most anime turned live action is just atrocious, and so
Yeah,
it's always a good drinking time. Um,
this could
the
adapt well.
Yeah, yeah. So it's guy has a blonde wig. I'm just curious how over the top it's gonna be. When they do over the top stuff like this, it's usually pretty hilarious. Um, the
Okay.
one that the memory that comes to my mind is there was oh goodness, Hanakimi. It's a manga, never turned anime, not to my knowledge. But it's essentially girl from Japanese, descent, but she lives in the States. Um, Idolizes this Japanese track star, so she then enrolls into an all boys school. Um, yeah, she pretends to
Hijinks
be a guy.
ensue.
And then she ends up winds up she stays at the dorm and then winds up becoming his roommate,
This is She's the
just by random
Man.
chance.
This is She's the Man. Do you ever watch She's the Man with Amanda Bynes? Is that her name from Nickelodeon?
Probably that is a name, Amanda Bynes. I don't know. I've never seen She's the Man, so I would, but that's probably. So I'm curious what came first. I honestly,
This
this
came
has been
out.
out.
This came out probably 15 years ago, maybe longer. I think I was in high school when it came out, so at least '07, at least probably '05, maybe. I mean, Amanda Bynes had a career, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, so I don't know, but anyways, they made a live action, multiple live action Hanakimi series. Originally I think it was originally Japanese, then
Yeah.
Korean, then Japanese again. And then when they did the remake of the Japanese one, it was so bad that the other network was re-airing the original series during the same time slot.
Oh man.
Um, yeah, so that original Japanese series was money. It really was good.
Okay.
And some of our friends in Japan, we made a on the spot drinking game because they had a theme song that they'd play quite often. So like every time we heard that theme song, we would end up it was just like a jaunty little tune, and we're like, okay, drink. Anytime there was a homoerotic moment, two the guys look at each other longingly or something like that, but take a drink. Uh, anytime, yeah, it was
uh,
anytime a guy has his shirt off or something, like we drank a lot. We played this drinking game with episode 1/2 like on multiple occasions because we couldn't never continue the series. Uh,
wow.
it took a long time for us to finally go through that series, but it was totally recommended. And but it's because it's so over the top that it worked so well. Because they don't, it's manga done real essentially. So yeah, you get all the lavish backdrops and stuff like that, or you see someone and all of a sudden you get like a floral print or some crap like that
So
because
it's
that's how the
gotta
manga
be
would look.
it's gotta be stupid to
Mhm.
make it, and it's a manga. I don't know. There's something about the craziness that anime and manga do that somehow it's it's not it's over the top. You're right, and it's not real, and it's not based in reality. But there's still a truth to it. There's still a weird kind of truth to
You're in their world, and that's how that world functions. If you're
like
playing by those
or
rules,
their mind, especially.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like Speed Racer in that effect. I know we talked about
Oh
that movie a while ago. It's
no.
very much that
Oh
effect.
no, 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 no. Don't do this to me. I can't think about Speed Racer this late in the evening. I can't do it. Gosh,
Uh,
that has probably has an amazing drinking game, but you would be destroyed. Like every time, like one rule I would make for Speed Racer is every time your eyes hurt, take a drink. It's like all the time. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
no, not a problem. So, but anyways, like I said, it's so the Kaguya-Sama Love is War live action. Haven't seen it, but there's two movies. So just hey, when you're done with the series, if you want some more, you're jonesing, go for it.
Okay.
But what I had been currently watching is I finally caught up on I hadn't watched any season 2 of Komi, Can't Communicate, and so we finally got around to it. And yeah, my wife and I, we ended up watching pretty much over the last 2 weeks. We just polished off that second season,
Mhm.
and I think in our opinion, it's better than the season 1. It has more emotion behind it, that's for sure.
Okay.
Uh, they I think overall, I think the polish was more solid as well because you already have established most of the characters. They do kind of throw in some characters towards the end, like a little forcefully because it's still so early in the actual scheme of the manga. Because I think the manga has like 300 something chapters. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
it's forever long.
I started to read the manga, and it's whenever I was kind of watching the first season, it didn't catch me. I think there was like a one shot, and then they turned it into the actual then they kind of spun it off into a full length manga. But even when I started reading the actual true manga, I was kind of like, this is, I don't know. I guess I wanted to watch the show and not ruin it for myself. I don't know. I might get back into it, but I watched a good bit of the first season. I think I'm actually on like the last episode of the first season. I kind of dropped it for some reason. Um, it waned on me. I thought that it kind of finished. It was finishing, or where I was at in the show was kind of weak. It wasn't holding my attention. So I'm glad to hear that the second season's better. I might try to finish up this first season and jump into the second season.
Yeah, so I guess for those who know, I generally end up watching anime dubbed. Just it's a more convenient factor.
I
It's not
have.
really I prefer one. It's like I'm not a purist or any of that stuff. In this case though,
Hmm.
originally when it came out and I was enjoying it, like it came out only in Japanese. I gave it a shot and I really liked it. Uh, so I just continued with that, and then they did release the English dub, but also Netflix has a history of kind of ruining like the way anime is done out. And I ended up hearing about from a coworker how
I heard,
apparently
yeah.
the English translations for some of this is it just wasn't correct, and the written text also was off. And this is all about, two people communicating a lot of times, writing back and forth or writing
With
notes and letters, and
paper, yeah.
um, yeah, it's so having having them knowing that the English had mistakes in it, I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm just gonna stick with season one all in uh Japanese. And then when season two came out, we that's all we did is we all in Japanese all the way through. But because of that and having to actually dedicate some time, it's only been like it's like, all right, kids are in bed. We got one or two episodes in us, and then we have to head to bed ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we played it. Um, but yeah, it turned out to be, really enjoyable, worth the time. They did some really good, I think, art direction in some certain moments. They use like more than one occasion, they'll use panes of glass or like rectangular objects in the background to overlay memories. So, for example, in my case, you'd see the spaces between the bookshelves, and they'd use those as different panels to show different clips of their memories as they're cycling through. So they did something similar to like the window panes on the outside of the classroom, or just like things like that. So like, oh, that's a neat choice for direction. Um,
It's very
I
cool.
like I said, I was really impressed on the overall quality, and honestly think I just enjoyed it. They do a really good job about being embarrassed and
Yeah.
like that embarrassment cringe. So they'll they'll do something or they'll react, and it's just like them like squirming on a blanket or squirming on their their futon or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Or you get caught doing something embarrassing and you try to cover for yourself. I'm like, that you could almost feel empathetic for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
uh
Um, I was just you talking about watching it in Japanese actually reminded me that I've been watching Kaguya-Sama in English. Actually, I did start to watch it in Japanese, but I went. But you're right. I mean, like watching it in English, it just cuts through. Like you can just I don't know. It's so much easier to watch it in English because you can listen to it. You don't have to
I mean,
watch every single second.
English is so good though. Like the way they localized it, I
I
think is really good.
I will say that I did. I was like, well, I'll try it in English, and if it sucks, I'll switch. I'll just switch back and forth because I did want to test it out. But when I started watching it in English, I was like, dang, these guys are doing a really bang up job. The all the voice actors for the three main characters, at least as far as I'm seeing, um, they're great. You know, they fit the roles pretty much perfectly. I think Kaguya in Japanese. I don't want to say she's better. I think they're different. I think that they're about as good as each other. They're just different. And but the one in Japanese is more evil. Like she's like dark. She has like a
She has an arrogance to her, or like she does that that the highbrow rich, nobility kind of deal. And I
yeah.
think she plays that play, that's a Japanese, tendency, I guess,
Yeah.
um
Like the voice actress or whatever, I don't know. She like talks more. She talks more like this and very kind of monotone and low. Just sort of an air of evil about her. And then the American the English voice actress um, doesn't quite go there, but it works. It's fine. She's a little more human about it. It's it's not worse. It's just different. But I'm enjoying it
no.
regardless.
I like it towards the latter end of season one. They'll start to introduce some more. And yeah, there's another male character
The
who
treasurer,
like
he's come into it. He's been pretty funny.
he's my fan favorite. I like him. I'm like that like dude gets dogged hard, and I'm like I root for him.
Like when
So
Kaguya, spoilers, but when Kaguya finds out he's failing his classes, and then she like kidnaps him and ties him up and forces him to study, and then he like there's this amazing scene at the end of that episode, which I just finished, where he passes his class and he's like, look, I passed. And then she gets the papers and she looks at it and she's like coming up to his face and she's like, what is this? I do all that work so you can barely pass. And then she like throws the papers, like spreads her arms like that, just like right in his face. It's the funniest animation. Gosh, I love it, man. It's perfect.
Yeah, no, it has such really good moments. The I do believe that the bits with Chica also, the pink haired girl does
Oh,
really good
Chica's
job. Her,
great. Yeah.
I told you about her, like the fact that a buddy of mine told me that they rotoscoped uh the dance, and I'm like, there was like, yeah, I bet they blew the whole budget on the rotoscoping. I'm like, you know what, you're probably right.
Oh
That's a
yeah.
really really solid like bit, and I'm like, that's some commitment there.
Yeah,
Uh,
we were talking about this before the podcast, and I was telling you like that dance looks really. I was like, whenever I was watching, I was like, that dance looks really good. They definitely put a lot more into that because it's very fluid motion and it goes on for a good little while. And then a lot of the episodes, we jumped back onto Kaguya-Sama when we were talking about Komi, but a lot of the episodes, not all of them, but a lot of them have like a little extra, like the credits will start to roll and they'll throw in a little bit extra story or something like that, some little throwaway thing. But anyway, it's cool. I'm definitely enjoying it. But
yeah, for sure.
Comey season two, sounds cool. I might try to pick that up.
Yeah, totally worth a shot. I mean, I felt that it was an easy watch. I do think overall it's better than season one, and uh, I don't know if they're going to be getting a season three. I'd kind of be hopeful, but at the same time, it's like I would be surprised if they didn't. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah, they're
totally
expensive.
give it a once over. I doesn't matter, I guess, but I prefer that one in Japanese. Uh, do Kaguya in whatever language you want. Um, but those, yeah, that's about it, man.
Yeah,
Comey season two, like I said, big surprise on that one because honestly, I was like, oh, I think I just lost, like it had been a long enough time that like I forgot that even came out because I knew that. Well, Netflix kept on saying they update, like, oh yeah, you updated. I'm like, oh cool, they had season two. No, that's just the English dubbed, and then I'm pretty sure like,
yeah,
so then I just like when it popped up again in my thing, I just didn't even pay much attention to it. Um, but it was, they finished out the year is what I'll say. They finished out the school year. So that, it leaves the whole school year available for another, season or two. And that would be worth it.
okay. That's cool, man. Well, that's what we have been watching, and with that, it's gonna pretty much do it for us. The pod has been cast, and our time draws near to the end. So anyway, that's it for me. Uh, Joe, do you have anything? Do you have any? Do you have anything that you learned? A moral that you learned from today's episode?
Don't watch the documentaries that you recommend
That's fair.
because they're pretty depressing.
They're pretty. They're pretty dour. I will admit that. So yeah, don't listen to anything I say. With that, see you guys next time. Bye.
All right, take it easy.